So here, what happened is in the server side, the client side, what we will discuss in the client side, the execution, UI policies, and the client scripts, and server side, the data policies, business rules, and the script include. So we have completed the UI policies and the client script in that one, and come to the server side. So the data policies today we will see. What is a data policy? The policy is nothing but it's a set of rules and regulations. So the data is nothing but it is executed here. What is executing the policy or set of rules and regulations in the server side level, that we will call it as a data policy. So here what we can do is so here I'm just going to write a new data policy here. Configure. See, for example, if the hostel is true, hostel name and all should be the mandatory, right? Hostel name. So as per our UA policy, if the hostel is true, the hostel name, these all other fields was mandatory. For example, if I open this one, if I open hostel is true, see this hostel name, hostel field, building name, these are all mandatory. So we can fill it. But in the list level, what happened if I give as a hostel as true? See, there is no field is coming as a mandatory. So why? Because this UI policy will be executed in the form level, which will not execute in the list level. That is the main one of the big difference for the same thing here. Which means what we can do is here what we can do is now what we are doing we can see here. So for that one we can write a one data policy here. So I'm just going to here data policy leave. Okay, I'm just making hostel details filling. I'm just writing here. See, the table name is asking and inheritance, same concept. Inherit is nothing but whenever if you want to execute this to the client scripts, we can use the inheritance concept. So that's the one thing. And the next one is here what we can do is reverse if false. We saw it right how the reverse if false, and this we can check it later. And active true that we want to execute it. And the short description is nothing. What is the one? I'm just making hostel details visibility. The condition is hostel is true. Hostel is true, where we can do the thing here. The hostel is true. Now what happened? We have been here apply to import set, which means apply to import set is nothing but whenever if you want to execute this to the what we can say apply to import set is nothing but if you are whenever the data is loading it was showing that we can tell later. Apply to SOAP is nothing but it is a see when you did a record insert or update from the SOAP integration. When you have integrated that we can cover it later. And use as UI policy and client. That means if you want to execute this as a UI policy as a client, we can also see the same thing. Visibility, and I'm just making save here. There we can call it as a UI policy actions here. Here we can call it as a data policy rules. And I'm just going to here hostel name. So building name here, the UI policy. In the UI policy what we will do is we can make a field mandatory and the read only. and the visibility also. But here, from the data policy, we cannot make a field visibility by using data policy. We can make a field mandatory and the read only we can do this two only. But from the UI policy, we can do the field mandatory, read only, and the visibility. This is the one of the most common asked interview question. Please note down. What is the difference between UI policy and the data policy? UI policy will be executed at the client level, which is in the web browser, and data policy will be executed in the server side. If you want to the data policy, we can also execute in the client side also. And the next one, what we have to do is, so in the, from by using the UI policy, we can make a field mandatory and read only and the visibility. These three operations we can do it. From the by using the data policy, we can do only two operations, which is a read only and the mandatory for it. This is the basic things about the UA policy and data policy. So I'm just making read only as I'm not making read sorry, leave alone. Making a field is mandatory. Building name. Next one, hostel name. Building name and hostel name. Okay, hostel name. I'm just picking. Room number. Next one is floor number. Hostel name, room number, building name, and hostel fee. So, what we have done is we just field mandatory when the host is true. By when these are field hostel name, floor number, room number, building name, and the hostel fee. This is the basic thing. Now what we have to do is so now what we have to do is, for example, if I make a hostel is true, see it was throwing an error stating that so whenever if you see, so here what we can do is it is not allowing the data policy exception stating that the following fields were read only, mandatory, sorry, not mandatory, hostel name, floor number, room number. That means if those values is filled, then only this record will allows to save in that one. That is the basic thing which we have to check this one. So now this is the fundamentals where we need to do the same thing. That means, for example, if you see right now, if it's already done, if I make a false, that's fine. If I make a since from the hostel to true again, it will not allow you to save this one. It will throw an error stating that UA policy exception, the following fields are mandatory, hostel name, that is the floor number, room number, building name, hostel fee. For example, what I can say, okay. So here we have right phone number. I'm just making. See what happened? The data policy exceeds. Still, it will not allow you to record the save since even the floor number, the hostel is true in the list level. If you want to update any other field also, it will not update as there are few mandatory fields which we have to fill it, like a hostel name, hostel fee, building name, floor number, room number. These are all things. This is the thing which will be the same for it. See, for example, if I see here, see, it will not be allowed to log into that. Why? Because since it is a since since it is the data policy will be executed in the server level. So this is the one. See here, here you can see apply as import set. When the data is loading from the bulk, that will be same thing one. SOAP is one, and you can see use UA policy on a client, which means, for example, I think we have a few UA policies. We can disable this one. We'll check it once. How this will execute? Configure. So I'm just making this one also false. So there is no UA policies. So what happened? If you not UA policies, see here we have given as apply UA policy as a client. So I'm just making as a false and saving this one. And let's see how it will execute. How it will execute here. See, if there is no UA policy as a client, and if I reload, just check it. Sorry. If I has it true, it will not. And if I am going to save this one, let's see what happened. See, UA policy exception, the following fields are mandatory and we are not seeing. So, but it is not showing. If you want to show this in the formula, but since this operation will be executed in the server side level, so that's the this operation is will be executed in the server level, so that it will not show in the so if you want to show this one in the where that place in the client level you want to execute as a UA policy also, just reload. See here, this one, that means this is the use of UA policy as a unclient use as a UFL. So that means if you want to execute the data policy as a UA policy, we can do it. But a UA policy we cannot execute as a data policy. It's not vice versa. This is also the one of the most asked interview question. The interview may ask, can we execute data policy as a UA policy and UA policy as a data policy? Then we have to answer it. UA policy, we cannot execute UA policy as a data policy since the UA policy will be executed in the server client level and the data policy will be executed in the server level. But we can execute data policy as a UA policy and the that means client level and the server level, both levels we can do it. So this is the most common asked interview question. So any questions till now what we discussed? Yeah, yeah, correct. Yeah, the functionality is the UA policy will be executed in the form only, but the data policy will be executed in the server side. So the main correct. Data policy is nothing but it's a database level, which is in the server level. So here the many things will we can confuse, interview may confuse in the different levels. So you have to very clear UA policy 100% will execute in the client level. The next thing, the data policy we can execute as a client level. See, I'm just writing UA policy will always as I always executes client level only. So, but the data policy will execute server side and client side. And if you want to, we can execute only in the client server side also. But see here we have a checkbox called use UI policy as a client. We can do the same thing for it. Okay. So I hope you got it or any confusion still because this is the most fundamental thing we can do the thing. So SOAP is an integration. So if you want to a record is update from the integration at the time you want to update the same thing or not. So we use REST and SOAP. The thing was that's win and apply to import set is nothing but import set is a concept where we can upload the data in a bulk by using the import set. So that's the reason we can do the same thing for here. I hope you got it or confusion. I think that you're getting confusion, right? No, import set is an import in this thing. Bulk upload, import set. If you if you have an Excel sheet 1,000 records, so you want to upload the system, we can use the import set concept. So at that time, if the record is update from the there or inserting from there, you want to execute this UA policy or not. Sorry, this data policy or not. We can also check from here. Integration is nothing but when you integrate with the third parties. So by using the SOAP, when the record is inserting or update from the SOAP, or you want to apply this UA policy or not. Basically, yes, we will do the always we will update the same thing for it. Okay. Any questions? Spandana, I hope you understood, right? Very good. So you good. So this is the topic, the data policy and the client script. You can guys see it. I'm not feeling well, guys. So I cannot continue. So these two topics you guys can practice. Yeah.